Shalom, shalom, mishpocha. Welcome to another edition of Ray Bash's Ramblings. I'm your host, Rabbi Yehuda ben Shomer, and today we're going to be talking about the subject of hell, the afterlife hell. It's pretty much understood that the majority of Christianity believes in an eternal place of punishment called hell. There are some sects of modern-day Judaism that do not believe in a place called hell. But if you go back to the first century and the literature of the first century and the beliefs of the first century, prior to Yeshua's death, burial, and resurrection, and you go back far enough, it is well established that the Jewish people believed in a place called hell. However, their understanding of hell, my understanding of hell, is slightly a little bit different than the Christians' version of their understanding and belief of hell, because after the Gentile believers broke away from the Jewish believers, their thoughts and their beliefs on hell changed slightly because they brought back within their belief system some pagan elements from Rome and Greece and the mythology and the doctrines of hell within those pagan religions. So the best way to understand the subject of hell for a Messianic or Netzari believer is go to the story of Yeshua, where he told the story of Lazarus and the rich man. Many people will say this is a parable, but I do not believe it's a parable because he mentions specific names and he protects the names, the specificness of names of other people. In other words, we know who the poor man was who went to Abraham's bosom or heaven, Lazarus. We do not know the identity of the rich man. We just know him as the rich man. And so Yeshua did not want to commit Lashon Hara, the evil tongue, and to reveal to his listeners who this rich man was, because many listening to it may have known this man and they would realize that he was in hell. So we know that Lazarus goes to Abraham's bosom, and the rich man goes to hell or Gehenna. Now, believe it or not, Abraham's bosom was actually in hell. It was not in hell. I'm sorry. It was in a place called the grave, called Sheol. Sheol is a Hebrew word that's translated grave. Sometimes it's translated hell. So there were two compartments to Sheol: an upper compartment, a gulf, an expanse, an abyss, what have you, and a second compartment called Gehenna. The higher compartment, called Abraham's bosom, is where the righteous went after death, waiting for the promised one, waiting for the Messiah. The unrighteous, who did not believe in a coming Redeemer or rejected the coming Messiah, resided in a place of torment and punishment called Sheol, called hell, called Gehenna. Between them was this place called the abyss, or the gulf, or the expanse. So that's where that is. Now the tricky part is, how does the dynamics of the afterlife of the grave, or Sheol, or even hell, if you will, change after the death, burial, and resurrection and ascension of Messiah Yeshua? Let me just read directly from a blog that I did one time about hell. It says, "We can gather from the scriptures that when Yeshua died on the cross, that he told the one thief that he would be with him in paradise, another name for Abraham's bosom, and that this was the Sheol, or the hell, Yeshua descended to, because even if it was a higher level than Gehenna, you still had to descend to it." Now, let me just stop right there. I don't believe that heaven is up there and hell is down there underground. It's in a different dimension. It's in a different place, if you will. So, Yeshua having to descend, we can find evidence of that in Ephesians 4, verses 7 through 10, Acts 2, verses 22 through 36, and 1 Peter 3, verses 18 through 20. In Judaism, Abraham's bosom wasn't up in the sky, heaven, and hell wasn't underground. Yeshua apparently preached to the souls in Abraham's bosom, showing them that he was the promised Messiah, and this at the resurrection. Sometime after he met Mary at the tomb, when he appeared in the upper room, he ascended to Shemayim, the heaven where God is, and presented those souls that he preached to in Abraham's bosom to the Father. Then, at the ascension, after he had been resurrected for quite some time, he took those that rose with him, according to Matthew 27, 52 through 53, and presented them to the Father as a type of first fruit offerings. Thus Abraham's bosom was consumed by Gehenna and is no more. Thus the reference to hell opening her mouth and enlarging, according to Isaiah 5:14. Now the righteous go directly to the Father upon death, 1 Corinthians 5:3. And in the end, Gehenna itself will be thrown into the lake of fire originally prepared for the devil and his angels, according to Matthew 25:41. But when man fell, he became a little lower than the angels, and thus by default inherited the lake of fire also, according to Revelation 19:20, 20:10-15, and 21:8. Now, usually the next question I get regarding hell is that of non-believing Jews. Will non-believing Jews go to hell? So let me read from you from a blog I did once called Salvation and Sacrifice. So what does this say about the Orthodox Jew that doesn't believe in the Jesus the Christians proclaim? Will they be saved? Will they go to heaven? Yes, because the Jesus of Christianity came to do away with the Torah and does not line up with the Torah-observant Messiah Yeshua prophesied in the Scripture. So they cling to the Torah and wait for the Messiah that is outlined in the Tanakh to come. We, as Netzari Messianic Jews, must show them that this Yeshua has come, and he is the one that we love and serve. So that's all I'm going to say about that. I could go on, but I'm afraid if I keep opening my mouth, I'm probably going to get in some trouble here. But let me just say this to kind of wrap it up and to kind of close. Regarding who goes to heaven and who goes to hell, yes, the Scriptures does say that, I am the way. Yeshua said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No man comes to the Father but by me. But this Christian Jesus, who come to do away with the Torah, that's Gentilized and Greekized, is not that Messiah, is not that one you go through. He is conceptually different from the Messianic Netzari Yeshua Messiah. So when Christians preach this Gentile Jesus to Jews, they look at the Scriptures and they say, their Messiah doesn't line up with what the Tanakh says our Messiah is to be, so he can't be the Messiah, so therefore we reject him. And rightly so, because Christians' version of the Messiah doesn't necessarily line up with the Messianic Netzari Yeshua Messiah. So so in other words, the Jewish people reject this Christian Jesus and look for the Messiah to come that fulfills all the prophecies of the Scripture. We as Netzari and Messianic Jews have that responsibility to go to these non-believing Jews and to say, hey, this Messiah that you've been looking for, he's come. It's not the Christian version. Let me tell you the Jewish version, and let me show you through the Brit Chadasha that this is the Yeshua that you're looking for. This is the Messiah that you're looking for, that has fulfilled prophecy. So ultimately, in the whole scheme of things, I'm not God. I'm not omniscient. I don't know the hearts of men. I don't even know my heart, because Jeremiah says that my heart is deceitful above all things. So only God is the judge. Only he is the one who knows for sure, after somebody dies, who's going to go to heaven and who's going to go to hell. He is the one who has the final say. I'm glad I don't. So I can't speculate with any specificness who goes to heaven and who goes to hell. So I gave you my theory, and my evidence is to back up my theory of who I believe goes to heaven and who goes to hell. So, as Forrest Gump says, that's all I'm going to say about that. So anyway, that's all the time we have for today. So we'll see you on the flip side. Shalom and Shavua Tov.